The biggest riddle in football: why billionaires keep buying clubs that lose money. On paper, football clubs are terrible businesses. If you opened the accounts of most of the world's biggest teams without knowing what they were, you would probably walk away. Wage bills routinely consume 60 to 80% of revenue. Transfer spending runs into hundreds of millions. One poor season can wipe out Champions League income, collapse sponsorship bonuses, and trigger financial losses overnight. Even clubs with enormous fan bases often post tiny profits, or none at all. If this were any ordinary industry, investors would run in the opposite direction. Yet the opposite happens. Every few months, another football club changes hands for a staggering valuation. American private equity funds buy into European giants. Hedge fund billionaires compete for Premier League teams. Oil-rich sovereign wealth funds spend billions acquiring clubs. Technology founders, industrial dynasties, and global investment groups all seem eager to join the queue. Meanwhile, prices continue climbing. Clubs bought for a few £100 million 20 years ago are now worth several billion, which raises one of the biggest riddles in modern economics. Why do the smartest investors in the world keep paying record prices for businesses that often lose money? The answer is that they aren't really buying businesses. They're buying something much larger. They're buying 6 different assets at once. First, they're buying appreciation, not profits. Most people judge an investment by asking one question: how much cash does it generate every year? But that's not how many of the world's greatest assets work. Think about fine art. A Picasso hanging on a wall doesn't produce annual profits. Neither does a rare Ferrari sitting in a garage. A landmark building in the center of London may barely cover its maintenance costs. Yet wealthy people continue buying these assets because the real return isn't annual income, it's appreciation. Football clubs increasingly behave the same way. Consider what has happened over the past 2 decades. Clubs purchased in the early 2000s for a few $100 million are now valued at several multiples of those prices. Owners may have absorbed operating losses every season, but if the club itself triples or quadruples in value, those annual losses become almost irrelevant. They're simply the carrying cost, like maintaining a vineyard, or restoring an old castle, or preserving a masterpiece. The exit, not the yearly income, is where the wealth is created. Scarcity makes this possible. There is only one Manchester United, only one Liverpool, only one Real Madrid. Nobody can build another century-old institution with hundreds of millions of supporters around the world. Global demand for elite clubs keeps expanding, while the supply never changes. When billionaire wealth grows faster than the number of iconic football institutions, prices naturally rise. The buyers understand that. They're betting that the next billionaire will pay even more. Second, television money creates a revenue floor. Football clubs don't start every season from zero. Before a ticket is sold, before a shirt is purchased, before a sponsor signs a deal, elite clubs already possess something extraordinarily valuable: guaranteed broadcast income. Modern football has become one of the world's most reliable live entertainment products. People will happily watch films weeks after release. They'll binge television series months later. But sport is different. Its value exists in the present moment. Fans want to watch live. That urgency makes live sport one of the last forms of television that people refuse to delay. Broadcasters know this. Streaming companies know this. Advertisers certainly know this. As a result, domestic and international television rights continue generating enormous central payments. For many elite clubs, those payments amount to hundreds of millions every cycle. From an investor's perspective, that changes everything. Those recurring revenues create a financial floor. Even during disappointing seasons, substantial media income continues arriving. That predictable cash flow also makes financing easier. Banks are far more willing to lend against reliable broadcast revenues than uncertain future ticket sales. Owners aren't just buying a football team, they're buying a permanent seat inside one of the world's largest live content businesses. And with streaming platforms continuing to compete for premium sports rights, many investors believe that seat will only become more valuable. Third, sometimes the club is really a real estate investment. This is where football quietly intersects with urban economics. The smartest owners often aren't thinking only about 90 minutes on a Saturday afternoon. They're thinking about the other 167 hours of the week. Modern stadiums have become anchors for entire districts. Hotels, retail, restaurants, offices, entertainment venues, housing, conference centers, public spaces. A football club supplies something developers desperately need: foot traffic, emotion, identity. Millions of supporters already have a reason to visit. The club creates gravity. Everything else benefits from being nearby. Increase the attractiveness of the surrounding neighborhood, and the land itself appreciates. The football team becomes the engine. The property portfolio captures the value. Several major club acquisitions over the past decade have quietly involved enormous redevelopment opportunities surrounding stadium sites. The football club attracts headlines. The land creates fortunes. In many cases, investors aren't simply purchasing a sports franchise, they're acquiring the centerpiece of an entire urban development strategy. Fourth, multi-club ownership turns football into a factory. Traditionally, football clubs operated independently. Now many owners think in networks instead. Rather than owning one club, investment groups increasingly own several. A flagship club in one of Europe's biggest leagues, development clubs in smaller competitions, academies across multiple continents. Every club performs a different role. Young players can be signed inexpensively in emerging markets. They receive competitive minutes at smaller clubs. They adapt to professional football. Their market value rises. Then they're promoted internally. Eventually they reach the flagship club, or are sold elsewhere for substantial transfer fees. Instead of buying talent at peak prices, the network manufactures it. Think about how a factory works. Raw materials enter one end, finished products leave the other. The value isn't found in the raw material itself. It's created during production. Multi-club ownership attempts to industrialize that process. The raw material is teenage potential. The finished product is an international footballer worth tens of millions. The transfer market becomes less speculative. Player development becomes vertically integrated. Each club strengthens the others. The network captures margins that previously leaked to outside teams. Football starts resembling advanced manufacturing, except the products are people. Fifth, the ultimate trophy asset. Finally, there's the simplest explanation. People often assume billionaires buy clubs because they expect extraordinary financial returns. Sometimes that's true, but money eventually stops being the scarce resource. Meaning becomes scarce instead. Every weekend, tens of thousands chant, millions watch. An institution over a century old becomes associated with your name. History remembers owners alongside players, managers, and trophies. That level of cultural significance cannot simply be ordered from a catalogue. There are thousands of luxury yachts, only a handful of globally iconic football clubs. Scarcity creates prestige. Prestige creates demand. Demand creates extraordinary prices. Sometimes the asset isn't purchased because it's financially optimal. It's purchased because nothing comparable exists. The real answer. So the riddle finally resolves itself. A football club can be a terrible operating business, while simultaneously being an exceptional investment asset. It loses money like a vineyard, it appreciates like a Picasso, it generates media income like a bond coupon, it unlocks property value like a redevelopment permit, it develops players like a manufacturing company, and it delivers prestige unlike almost anything else money can buy. The challenge for football over the next generation won't simply be who wins the league. It will be deciding how much of the soul of the game can survive inside a system optimized for capital. And nowhere is that machine more visible than in the place where clubs create their most valuable assets. Not in the boardroom, not in the transfer market, but on the training pitches. Because the greatest factory in modern football isn't a stadium, it's the academy. That's where teenagers become eight-figure assets. That's where value is manufactured. And that's exactly where we're going next. Subscribe, and we'll see you in the next chapter.